Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive with us. Today we'll be exploring Tonya Dalton's book, The Joy of Missing Out.
Yeah, this one should be good.
It really seems like an intriguing concept, flipping the script on how our society glorifies being busy.
Right, like almost like it's a badge of honor.
Exactly. So we'll be diving into JOMO, as Dalton calls it.
The joy of missing out.
Yep. And how we can use it to design a life that's truly fulfilling.
Not just a packed schedule.
Well said. So, to kick things off, Dalton starts with this really relatable anecdote about feeling overwhelmed in her kitchen.
Ah, yeah, I remember that part.
Even though her schedule was packed,
hmm
she just felt like she was spinning in circles and not getting anywhere,
It's like that feeling we all get sometimes when we're just constantly doing.
but not actually making any real progress on the things that truly matter.
Exactly, and that's a key point she makes right off the bat.
That just being busy doesn't equal being productive.
We need to redefine what productivity actually means for each of us.
So how do we escape that busy trap, as she calls it?
Well, one of the core ideas she presents is embracing what she calls open spaces of unrushed time.
I like that. And she gives this really interesting example about leaving all work devices behind during family time.
Oh, yeah, that one really stuck with me too.
It's about making that conscious decision to be fully present with your loved ones,
Without the distractions of work emails or phone calls.
which honestly can be so hard these days.
It definitely takes effort, but it's so worth it.
Absolutely. So as we move deeper into JOMO, Dalton emphasizes the importance of figuring out your North Star.
Right, your unique purpose and the things that truly matter in your life.
It's about defining those guiding principles that help you make decisions and take actions.
And then aligning those actions with your North Star.
Because once you have that clarity, it becomes much easier to prioritize.
And she breaks it down even further by talking about three main areas of life: work, home, and personal.
With the key being to sync up your actions within each area with what truly matters most to you.
It's almost like creating your own personal roadmap to a fulfilling life.
Now, speaking of defining one's purpose, I was really fascinated by the story of Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite.
Oh, yes, that was a great example.
He was actually really concerned about being remembered as a merchant of death
So he took concrete steps to establish the Nobel Prize.
and shifted his legacy towards something more positive.
Which is incredible when you think about it. Like, he actively chose to redirect his life's purpose.
Showing that even when we might feel limited, we still have the power to shape our own journeys.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another fascinating concept Dalton explores: learned helplessness.
Which is the idea that we can get so used to feeling powerless that we miss opportunities for change.
She shares a compelling story about a woman named Rhonda who felt stuck because of childcare constraints.
Preventing her from pursuing her passion for yoga.
But by challenging her assumptions and really looking at her options,
She was able to find ways to prioritize both her family and her well-being.
proving that sometimes those perceived limitations are more flexible than we initially think.
So it's about recognizing those self-imposed barriers and finding creative ways to overcome them.
Exactly. And that leads us to another thought-provoking concept: the limiting beliefs we often carry within ourselves
Those internal narratives that can prevent us from really going after what we want in life.
and experiencing true fulfillment.
To illustrate this, Dalton introduces us to Gwen, an 87-year-old widow who surprised everyone.
By discovering this incredible inner strength and independence after her husband passed away,
It's a truly inspiring story that highlights the potential we all have within us.
waiting to be unlocked when we let go of those old stories that no longer serve us.
It's about recognizing those limiting beliefs and considering what might be possible if we challenge them.
And that's where things start to get really interesting as we delve into Dalton's strategies for creating a life that truly aligns with our priorities.
So stay tuned as we continue this deep dive into the joy of missing out.
There's a lot more to uncover.
We'll be back in a flash. All right, so we're back and ready to continue our exploration of the joy of missing out.
Picking up right where we left off, Dalton encourages us to challenge those limiting beliefs and start clarifying our priorities.
She actually suggests developing a personal mission statement
Like a clear, concise declaration of what we do, and more importantly, why we do it.
to help illustrate this point. She brings up some well-known examples like Amazon, Nike, PBS.
Showing how a strong mission statement really reflects the core purpose of each organization.
And how it can act as a guiding principle.
Precisely. So for us as individuals, it's about identifying those common threads or themes,
The things that truly drive us and bring us joy.
those activities and values that give our actions meaning.
And once we have that understanding, we can start setting effective boundaries.
which is something a lot of people struggle with.
But Dalton stresses that boundaries aren't about limiting our choices.
They're actually about creating more freedom and space to focus on what matters most.
I love the analogy she uses to explain this. It's like a
Nice.
school building a fence around a playground.
Ah, yes, that's a good one.
The fence creates a safe space for the kids to run and play.
Without worrying about wandering off or getting into danger.
So in a sense, those boundaries actually enhance their freedom
It's the same for us. By setting clear boundaries in our lives, we can protect our time and energy.
and prevent ourselves from feeling overwhelmed or stretched too thin,
But it's not just about setting those boundaries, it's also about communicating them effectively,
both in our personal and professional lives.
in being assertive but respectful in how we express our needs.
Exactly. Now, once we have those boundaries in place, we can start thinking about creating systems and routines that simplify our daily lives.
Ah, yes. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Dalton emphasizes the power of habits and automations.
Taking the thinking out of everyday tasks and freeing up our mental energy for the things that really matter.
She shares a great example of a woman named Erica who implemented automations at both work and home.
To free up more mental space and allow her to be more present in her personal life.
It's about leveraging those tools and systems that can help us operate more efficiently.
And reduce stress and decision fatigue.
Now, speaking of efficiency, let's dive into time blocking and productivity.
A crucial aspect of JOMO.
Dalton explains that by allocating specific time slots for different activities, we can make sure our priorities get the attention they deserve.
But it's not just about scheduling every minute of our day.
Right, it's about working with our natural energy cycles
Something she calls ultradian rhythms.
and incorporating breaks and white space into our schedules.
So we can recharge and avoid burnout.
I really like the analogy she used about a rafting trip.
Oh, remind me about that one.
The group was initially overwhelmed by the prospect of navigating a particularly challenging rapidity,
Until they took the time to properly plan and structure their route,
and that planning made all the difference.
turning what could have been a stressful experience into an enjoyable one.
So it's not just about rushing through things, it's about being intentional and strategic in how we approach them.
Which brings us to the importance of white space.
Something that's often overlooked in our always-on culture.
But Dalton argues that white space isn't just about leisure time.
It's about creating intentional space for rest, reflection, and creative rejuvenation.
And resisting the urge to fill every unplanned moment with mindless activities like scrolling through social media.
Instead, she challenges us to reclaim those pockets of time for more meaningful pursuits.
And she even shares a fascinating fact about sharks.
Sharks.
Yes, even sharks, those apex predators of the ocean who have to constantly move to breathe, have adapted to incorporate periods of rest into their lives.
So if sharks can make time for rest, we certainly can too.
And in doing so, we can create a more balanced and fulfilling life.
So we've talked about sharks needing rest, but what about us? Where does white space fit into the bigger picture of JOMO?
Well, Dalton argues that it's absolutely essential. It's not just about taking breaks or having fun. It's about creating those intentional spaces where we can truly disconnect and recharge.
And that can look different for everyone,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. For some, it might be spending time in nature. For others, it might be reading a book or listening to music. The key is that it's something that allows us to step away from the constant stimulation of our daily lives.
And give our minds and bodies a chance to reset.
Precisely. Because when we do that, we come back to our work and our lives with more energy, focus, and creativity.
It's like hitting the refresh button.
Exactly. And Dalton even goes so far as to say that white space is where the magic happens.
Oh, how so?
She believes that it's in those moments of quiet reflection that we often have our best ideas and insights.
When we're not constantly bombarded with information and distractions, our minds are free to wander and make new connections.
And that can lead to breakthroughs in all areas of our lives.
So it's not just about being more productive, it's about being more creative and innovative.
Exactly. And Dalton even argues that white space can help us to be more present and engaged in our relationships. Well, when we're constantly running from one thing to the next, we're not really giving ourselves the time and space to connect with the people around us.
We're just going through the motions.
Right. But when we create white space in our lives, we're able to slow down, be more mindful, and really savor those moments with the people we care about.
So it's about quality over quantity.
Precisely. And I think that's a really important message in today's world where we're so often focused on doing more, more, more.
It's about remembering that sometimes the most fulfilling experiences come from simply being present in the moment.
without the need to do or achieve anything.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the joy of missing out, let's recap those 10 key takeaways for our listeners.
Sounds good. First, we need to redefine our understanding of productivity, focusing on what truly matters, not just on being busy.
Second, we need to embrace JOMO, making those conscious choices to be present and prioritize the experiences that bring us joy.
Third, we have to discover our personal North Star, those guiding principles that will shape our decisions and actions.
Fourth, we need to remember that we have more control over our lives than we might think.
Fifth, we need to confront those limiting beliefs that hold us back from living a truly fulfilling life.
Sixth, we need to get clear about our priorities and create a personal mission statement that reflects those priorities.
Seventh, we have to set effective boundaries to protect our time and energy.
Eighth, we need to create systems and routines that streamline our daily lives and minimize decision fatigue.
Ninth, we need to harness the power of time blocking to allocate specific time slots for our various activities.
And finally, we need to remember to incorporate white space into our schedules, those intentional pauses for rest, reflection, and creative rejuvenation.
Because it's in those moments of stillness that we often discover our greatest insights and connect with our truest selves.
So as Dalton reminds us, it's not about doing more. It's about living more intentionally and creating a life that truly aligns with our values and aspirations.
A life filled with purpose, meaning, and of course, joy.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the joy of missing out. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
And remember, you have the power to choose how you spend your time and energy.
So make those choices wisely and embrace the joy of missing out on the things that don't truly matter.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep growing.